I'm Carey Tinkelenberg. I'm the founding owner and director of the Northfield Skating School in Northfield, Minnesota. I attended Carleton College. I graduated in 2005 with a psychology major. I've always considered myself kind of an accidental entrepreneur. I grew up seeing people around me as entrepreneurs. My father is, my brother has been. I love to skate. I wanted to coach. There was no opportunity in town, and I saw this kind of hole in the market and thought it might be fun. I had no idea where it would lead. I thought it would be a fun few-month project, and here I am 15 years later, still at it. Skating is something that's been part of my life since I was really young. I started around age 6 or 7, and I started in a group lesson program, not very unlike Northfield Skating School. It grew through the ranks of skating. There wasn't one moment where I said, this is it, this is what I want to do with my life, and the future is clear. It was nothing like that. Probably the biggest contributing factor to why I do what I do now is the support that I had, the community and skating, what that meant for me. I knew that I wanted to coach, but I always thought it would be a fun thing I'd do on the side, and I never thought I'd be where I am now. Thinking back to just the degree of my inexperience and idealism at the time, they were both really strong, and there became this kind of tipping point where I was working myself into the ground, and I needed to make a choice. And it was hard to leave the full-time job with benefits and dive into this part-time, seasonal at the time program. But I knew if I didn't, there was no way that it would grow. So it was this really important crossroad. I thought, I could eat beans and rice for a year if I need to. There needs to be some kind of trust and commitment. I just need to do it. So I took the leap at that time. And I would say that's when I really became an entrepreneur. All of it came back to me. I was responsible for how things turned out, and I was managing a staff of 18 at the time, and the pressure increased a little bit at that point, but it also drove me. It really lit a fire, and I found that this is something that I was really passionate about. I started a skating school with no formal business background. I did take a couple of classes along the way. I found there were certain hard skills that it was really helpful to have, such as financial management and the tried and true practices of marketing. I was also working at a coffee shop, and that's when it really was formed. It was kind of testing the idea out on people, do you think this would fly in this town? Or do you think it's already flooded with too many youth activities? Do you think it'd be too expensive? Do you think there'd be interest? And somewhere along the way, the seed was planted, and it was start from scratch or don't do it. In that moment, when that decision presented itself and when that situation became clear, I had to have some sort of belief that I could do it. I didn't know how to be a director at the time, let alone build a staff, so it was really a learning process for everybody. The first time I recruited staff, I didn't know what I was doing. I was living on a college campus, and I'm like, how do I find the skating instructors? And I had never been managing people responsible for other people's safety, and that was a huge thing that I had to grow into. What kept coming up for me was I had this opportunity to create a culture and to create an environment, and that was really daunting. It was a huge, felt like a big responsibility, but also just such an opportunity. I came up with the tagline, building skills and confidence for skating and for life. And we came up with our core value system during that time, and that was something that was very collaborative among the staff. And those still are the core values that stand out today. And we talk a lot about community, responsibility, leadership, and integrity. Our target market is anyone who is age 4 through adult. We offer classes for all ages, all abilities. I would say number one, go for it. Don't let anything hold you back, especially when you're young and idealistic and have a lot of energy. Know that it is going to take on a life of its own, and it will pull you in every direction of the full spectrum of emotion. You also have to be completely flexible, and you can't hold it too tightly because opportunities will pass you by if your eyes are closed. Lead by example and be willing to make mistakes and react to that with humility and openness. There's flexibility, there's just a sense of ownership and engagement in all parts of what you're doing. It also comes with a lot of pressure, strange hours. Have a great team. Surround yourself with great people. Hire for attitude, train for skill. Find the people who fit with you values-wise and train them with the skills they need to know. Do a lot of talking to people. And there is a lot to be gained from understanding others' paths and experiences, and know where you can seek out your inspiration. I would do what you are called to do and what you're motivated and sparked to do well. And if that involves being enterprising and forming your own thing around it, great. Lead with the content and your engagement in the process, and the rest of it will become clear.